Hello there. Welcome to a bit of a review of my week 1 battle of the VDL S Division against my good friend Pd0nZ, also known as Pd0nZ. This was kind of a hard battle to kind of prep for because it was between two friends, and me and Patrick go way back in terms of competitive VGC. We have our connections in things like the Blizzards, in MPA, in the World Cup of Pokemon hosted by Victory Road. We're both managers of Team Ireland, and we kind of helped each other out here and there in official VGC stuff and other team tours. But that made this a really hard match to prep for because on one hand, I felt quite confident with the Pokemon I could bring into this matchup. I also had the hold on the other hand that Patrick was going to know a lot of what I could do, and also know what Patrick could do as well, especially the Pokemon that he had picked was going to be a very big toss up of, do I have to bring something to maybe just completely hammer him down, which would be really annoying, of course, if you're facing a friend, or do I bring something slow and steady, which would kind of match what his normal playstyle is. Patrick had always been like a super fast and super damagey, hyper offensive player, or, he likes to play things like Perish Trap and Trick Room, just to kind of slow things down and make sure that your opponent, hasn't really got those turns, to do things or has to think too much, and kind of playing those mind games. So those are two things I have to really keep in mind. And I've just got a YouTube video that Patrick sent me of our battle, because we battled, at a time when I was moving house, so it was kind of awkward to pick and choose when and where I could record, but he was happy for me to, kind of talk over his point of view, make a video out of it. I'll drop a link to all of his relevant socials in the description below, and if there's a VOD for his side, I believe he streamed it, I'll make sure that's there. I don't know if he streamed this battle, just because, again, for the same circumstances as me, he understood I was kind of under a lot of pressure, and we will just get it done and over with. But other than that, we'll just have a quick gander at it. Of course, there's a bit of lag at the start of it. That's always going to happen. I'll quickly pause this, and then I will have to come back when the video started coming back again. I guess it's going to go a little bit back on itself, but we'll catch up. So, apologies for that. I'm saying apologies. Probably won't be edited out, but I had a bit of a disruption there. So looking at this, face on, I called quite a few of the Pokemon Patrick was going to bring in terms of what I was building my Pokemon with, as well as the spreads and sets away. Vileplume, I didn't expect too much. I kind of built my Pokemon to have some sort of a scenario where it could knock out a max HP, max HP, max defense. Vileplume, which one of the things that I always struggle with in draft leagues actually is trying to think, yes, I'm calculating this Pokemon to knock out this with like max HP and max defense. But then this Pokemon here might have to rely on max HP, max defense. So it's always find that balance of what do you think is more likely to happen based on the Pokemon you bring. So a little bit of a tactic I do, this is kind of I call a pillow shading maybe for draft leagues, is you kind of just calculate what's the average highest attacking stat on your opponent's team, and then you work out for yours as well. So you know what you're building bulk for. So say my opponent had Pokemon, 6 Pokemon of their 11 were special attackers and 5 of them physical. Yes, that's only one different, but that's still meaning I've got to prepare more for special attackers. So I I'll have Intimidate, of course, on my Archive if I bring Intimidate on that week, and I have things like Max Whirlwind or maybe Screens or whatever to drop stats there, but I can always rely on having to put a bit more SPDF in my Mons, and vice versa if there's a more attacking Pokemon imposed inside the field. And then for my side of the field, again, I kind of calculate, my opponent's going to see what I've got, what have I got more of, and then it's kind of calculate into what stat I believe is going to come more often. But, that's just another story. Maybe I'll do a big video on how I prep my drafts. I'm not the best draft league player, but it's always fun to see. Of course, like I said, this is from Patrick's point of view, so of course I didn't know any of these items here, but that was just how it went. Of course, Cinderace, what I expect to come, because it has really good matchups to most of my Pokemon. I of course had my grass types and my bug types, especially my bug type being Scizor. It was a bit annoying as full 10 Sweet to Fire, but it's a Pokemon I felt fit really well into my core. I wish I didn't have Duraludon, but then I traded that away just before week 1, just because I wanted to make sure, I had a bug type there, because I felt bug really fit my composition more. Duraludon could have helped a lot in the latter weeks, but maybe I'll choose that then. Maybe if I find I really need it, I'll give it a swap. But other than that, ignoring Patrick's side, Fable, Arcanine, Seeking, Sizzle, sorry, I even just said it, I forgot the name of it then, Rotom and Tyrantrum. I was kind of going, you know, like this is a week 1, I want to play it comfy, and of course, like I said, Patrick can bring anything. I knew, of course, I knew the Pokemon he had, but knowing what he could bring, note from like the different types of teams he's ever had, I kind of just played it steady. I was like, I'll bring a simple Fire, Water, Grass, Fairy Steel, Dragon Core. Other typings on the Pokemon could complement here and there, but I just wanted to go with that. I'll actually quickly bring up my notes somewhere I had, but I believe I had a couple changes. So bear with me a second, there'll be a quick transition, and I'll be back with, you know, the, you know, updates and that. Never mind, it was on my other computer, so yeah. I have to kind of remember what I had in my Pokemon. I think it was Power Herb on Clefable, sorry, and a Choice Band Arcanine, because I just wanted to get as much damage as that Arcanine as possible. I had Intimidate to nerf this Pokemon, but I felt with the matchups I could have gone in, Choice Band just covered so many like resistances and neutral damage that it was too hard to turn down. Seeking was Assault Vest. I was thinking maybe going with a Rindo Berry just to kind of take any grasses that come my way, but Patrick's team didn't have any grass type Pokemon that really stood out that scared me. So I just went with AV and calculated like max special attack, Choice Specs, Vileplume, max special attack, Life Orb, Vileplume, just to kind of get an idea of what sort of block I need to go for. I think I ended up just going for like max Life Orb, because like max Choice Specs on most of my spreads was a guaranteed knockout or doing like 90% damage anyway. And yes, it's nice to live with that 10% HP, but that got really scary when I was trying to kind of figure out, you know, sort of basis. So Assault Vest taking Life Orb was fine by me. Sizzle was the Focus Sash of the team. Of course, one of the jokes of Pokemon VGC is, you know, finding the Focus Sash. That's something for both you and your opponent. But I felt that Sizzle, you know, it had access to things like Swords Dance, and it had, you know, it could go for like bullet punches on like 1 HP to get a clutch chip or a knockout. So I just went with Focus Sash, and I did go for Swords Dance set just to kind of, I felt like, you know, Swords Dance bullet punch went really well into Lapras, went really well into Togetic if it came. You had things, you had bug type moves to Gothorita. I did nearly run U-turn because of, I knew Patrick would maybe run a Perish mode, which it does look like could be possible here with a couple of the Pokemon. But that was something that, you know, kind of went through my head, and I was like, I think I went for Exos in the end. It's a Choice Scarf, Rotom. There's a couple of Pokemon which I want to guarantee outsped, just in case I was any like cheeky sunny day into a slow Vileplume. I just wanted to make sure I was outspeeding everything to get Volt Switches off. I had Trick to give something that was really slow or revolved around a certain item, that Choice Scarf, which would be nice to put onto Togetic if I did go for it. So that was just kind of a thing I went for. And then Tyrantrum was really nice for gelling out the team. I went through many versions. Originally that had the Assault Vest, I think. I had a Life Orb version, and I think I changed it to Choice Band as well at some point when I was trying to build it. But I settled back on Weakness Policy again, because I felt I had side Bullet Punch Weakness Policy. I could maybe side attack with my Seeking, maybe I think I typed my gun, but I could have side attack with a few of my Pokemon that I felt comfortable doing a side attack on. If not, I was EV to take a fair few, well, I say like a few hits, like in terms of like 2 EKs, 3 EKs enough, but most of the Pokemon were built to take a hit from these Pokemon, and that was really good for me. But yeah, other than that, you know, I kind of went with the flow, and Patrick puts in his Pokemon, so if we just kind of gallivant ahead to we had a disconnect at the first, so if we just kind of gallivant through where the battle actually starts, because, you know, my Wi-Fi wasn't the best. I had to change my 5G hotspot just to kind of, you know, manage to get this battle done. So as we see here, we come into our first battle. I believe this is the first one we actually went through anyway. And, you know, I felt quite comfortable leading with like just a generic, you know, if it goes right, it goes right lead in, you know, Discharge next to a Lightning Rod mod, especially when Seeking has not the best special attack, but a decent stat which you can boost with the move pool it has, and of course the Lightning Rod. And Patrick led off with the combination of Follow Me plus Marowak, which did kind of, you know, put me in a little bit of fear, because the The Marowak, of course, with its item boosting its attack stat, or its physical attacking moves, I can't remember how it quite works, it was going to be doing a fair bit of damage to Seeking, which didn't have the best defense stat. It couldn't really hit Rotom, but it does have access to moves like Fire Punch and that to go ahead and hit the Rotom. And it was just a bit annoying knowing that, you know, if there's like a Follow Me and a Live into a Max Quake, that would have made it a bit of a slower path to go down for me, just because, you know, I didn't have that potential to get as much damage even whilst spamming Lightning Rod, because whereas I was getting the +1 from Lightning Rod, Marowak wasn't getting hit. And I also, you know, that was getting a +1 as well instead of death. So it was kind of like a seesaw, and we're teetering back and forth of like getting our boosts, if that did happen anyway. Another fear I did have as well was Patrick, knowing I could have gone with this combo, maybe went with a special attacking Marowak, which isn't the end of the world, especially in Draft League when anything can happen. But, you know, with its item and with all the boosts it was going to be getting from the discharge and not taking any damage from it as well naturally, you know, was going to be something to consider. So that was what I had to keep in mind. If you see Patrick's kind of, you know, seems a bit startled by this, but, you know, I don't know if it's just like thinking time or what, but Patrick did take a lot of time on a lot of his turns, especially in these earlier parts of the game. And honestly, I don't blame him. He accidentally hovered over Run there, said a Pokemon. Might have been a bit of Joy-Con drift. I doubt he'd have ran that first turn. But this did seem to cause him a lot of confusion, because, of course, like, he didn't really have the opportunity to go for, you know, ground type moves, because Seeking, yes, it would have been hit, but Rotom would have been sat there, you know, nice and jolly. And in reading this, I just went for Dynamax just to kind of, you know, read the room, get my combo going off as quick as possible, and if it worked, it would have gone great. Both these Pokemon were weak to the moves I had on Seeking, which is one of the reasons why I had Seeking there, because yes, it only got Stab on Water type, but some nice powerful Ice type moves now boosted would have been really nice to see. Follow Me wasn't really a bother either, of course, yes, I was going with Discharge, which you see here, Seeking activates Lightning Rod first, so I know it's at least a speed tie at worst. Marowak, again, going second, could have been a speed tie, or at least I kind of knew how the speed tiers were set. And it was a nice bit of chip on Togetic as well, like doing just about 60 damage, just about a quarter of the damage there. And I wanted to make sure Togetic was gone, because Togetic was a thorn in my side, like in the prep, because like it could follow me away any of the moves that I could have gone for. And maybe getting the rain set up could have been nice, could have got the boosts, but wasn't the end of the world. And of course Patrick maybe throwing a switch in, just goes for Earthquake. Two of the Pokemon don't take damage, and my Rotom and his Togetic, but Seeking takes that quite well whilst Dynamaxed. I think I had a bit of physical defense investment just because I felt, you know, I could take those hits, and even with Lightning Rod, I was, you know, getting my special attack at a decent state, you know, before I was going ahead and taking a lot of damage. And really, it was a path I was willing to go down, because having that lack, oh, we've got a bit of lag, oh there, it's come back again. Having that, you know, lack of special attack and just knowing I could take hits was really good. And that was super helpful in, you know, pioneering how I built this team for the week against Patrick. And I often saw like moments where I was like, okay, I can actually get a nice switch in here just because of how nice how nice my bulk is. And actually, we see a stand here where I switch. So I'll quickly pause it here. Not the most fantastic frame to pause it on, but the way in which I was able to kind of get that switch was not a dead weight, but like a Scales of Liberty, I think they called that in my head. On one side I got the Arcanine in, I got an Intimidate off, and I could have, you know, made sure that like I was taking less damage on my Seeking. On the other hand, I was like, but if I stay in Discharge, I get another special attack boost, I knock out the Togetic, and I can possibly knock out this Marowak. Which, if it had gone for Max Quake, of course, you know, we knew it's slower, so that would have been fine. So it was finding that nice midpoint and like trying to find which side of the scales of what to sit on. And frankly, I felt I made the misplay in doing this switch, because I was like, oh, I benefit more by getting special attack boost, because Marowak's not getting hit by a Lightning Rod anyway. Rotom's done its job getting Seeking set up, and I can sweep with Seeking from here, if it does get set up. But the cherry on top, like the glimmer of hope in this play I made, is Arcanine comes in, I decided to go for that slot, and it did really annoy me a little bit. But, you know, it comes in, gets Intimidates off. Of course, we did see from how the video is laid out, Patrick does go big with a Marowak, which was something that I was a bit paranoid about, because, you know, you never want to see your opponent maxing a Pokemon which you know can be very scary to your team. It can hit the Arcanine now, you know, Max Quake, even at the -1, it's going to do a lot of damage, especially if it's not only a Choice Band variant. And I don't have much bulk, I had enough bulk to take a few hits, but I still had to cut speedy. Helping Hand as well when I saw this, that made it even more of a fear for me. But Max Geyser, you know, I did kind of, you know, cheese it with the switch. I was like, oh wait, no, if I'd gone for Max Geyser plus the Lightning Rod, I would have got a knockout there, and it would have counted the Follow Me. But I lived through it, because it meant that I had a bit of room to maneuver later in the game. And this right here, so we'll see how much it does. Like, with Helping Hand, it did a nice chunk there. Not nicest nice, but it did a decent chunk. It did more than I thought it would. But calling that switch there is something that I cherished throughout that game, because that had kind of showed me like, oh, even though I thought I made a bad mistake by not going for the discharge with the guaranteed like possibly 2 knockouts that turn, I called a Max Flare, which was amazing because it meant that I could, you know, change my move on my Rotom for later on. I could reserve it just in case something like Lapras was there and I could knock it out with that most likely. And the sun going up isn't the end of the world because how low both these Pokemon are. And I was also quite happy because Arcanine now had the sunset up in its face, and that is something that, you know, being a Choice Band Pokemon with Flare Blitz, arguably the best Fire-type move in terms of sheer damage in the game, was amazing. Yes, there's a high risk, high reward of I take HP, you know, based on how much damage I do, but both these Pokemon are really low HP, and regardless, I was going to be, you know, really getting them both. As you see, Patrick tries to pocket down the Arcanine thinking, yeah, maybe I could go for Protect something. Togetic goes for Protect, which is fine by me because, you know, that just gets a good call off. The Flare Blitz does go into that slot. I did try and really just go for like a crisscross pattern and get rid of things where I could. And then, you know, I just want to get rid of Marowak. I think it might live on a Sliver. No, it doesn't. Okay, yeah. I thought I remembered it living on a Sliver during the battle. But no, just getting the rain set up and getting Marowak knocked out. Yes, I lose my Dynamax, and yes, I'm Lightning Rod and not Swift Swim, but that was just really nice to know that I'd got rid of it, because that was something that was a hindrance to me. And these Pokemon in the back, they are very scary. Cinderace was something, like I said, I had calced loads and loads and loads for, because it was just a Pokemon I could see being a threat for this team. And we'll see with Patrick's movesets, you know, what he was going for with this team of just locking in my Pokemon while switching out his as much as possible. And like as far as Baton Pass on Togetic. But that didn't really, you know, matter too much because I already had some decent Pokemon. Arcanine switching out, you know, just to try and to kind of get that Intimidate loop ready for that Cinderace, because Cinderace being one of the last Pokemon in the back was great to know I was countering. And then, you know, Follow Me, you know, not the end of the world. And then this Cinderace U-turn, Libero activates. We saw it was like, well, I didn't know it was Life Orb, but we saw that it was Life Orb from the damage from the team preview, and that crit, you know, really, you know, did push me back. So I was like, maybe I could have lived that. I don't know. Cinderace is a powerful Pokemon. With Gothorita coming in, you know, none of these Pokemon can set the Perish Trap. But it was annoying that I was forced to go for Volt Switch for a switch, and I knew Fake Out could be a possibility now that I didn't have any Dynamax options left. Which, you know, isn't the worst given the 2 Pokemon on the field. Like, Patrick went very heavy in this game on maybe just getting damage done with Marowak and then trapping me later on. But, you know, look at these 2 Pokemon. You know, Gothorita isn't going to like taking a hit from Tyrantrum, and Togetic is definitely not going to take a hit from this Rotom. And I can easily just Volt Switch to, you know, keep my Pokemon safe. And we see Patrick's really annoying moveset there of opting to have Hypnosis as an option, which is something a lot of the players in normal VGC have gone for as well, just because it is so reliable. If you hit it, it's, you know, one of the most accurate sleep moves you can go for. But, you know, I kind of call into that. I get the Volt Switch off. I think I would have better off going for Release Bomb, getting the hard switch into the Arcanine onto something, maybe going for a Discharge, because Tyrantrum won't take much, just a Dragon type. But I just wanted to guarantee I wasn't taking a chip or getting self-paralysis. That would have been really annoying. And Arcanine, like I said, comes in at possibly a bit of a wrong time, because, you know, what's it gonna do to a, you know, now that Cinderace in the back. Head Smash does a nice chunk, but not the nicest, because I haven't had my Weakness Policy activated. And then the Hypnosis goes into Arcanine, which is, you know, at this state in the game, I'll just quickly pause here, you know, while we're looking at the team preview. At that point there, it was really annoying that Arcanine was asleep, because I had to rely on my sleep turns to maybe think, can I knock out this Cinderace? I had Rotom in the back to switch into, but then if he called that, that would have been Rotom being knocked out. And, you know, not the most annoying thing, because Arcanine could have come in intimidated again, but it would still have been annoying that, you know, that had happened. And so sorry, I had a yawn there. I did still feel kind of okay going here, because you know, if I woke up turn 1, I could have got some moves. I think I was spamming Crunch this whole time, so I knew Crunch was my win con. I hadn't revealed it yet on Arcanine, obviously. I only revealed Flare Blitz so far, but having Crunch was so nice into this matchup, because Rain would have been set up on myself, and it means Gothorita would have had something can be hit by nicely. So I had Wild Charge, which, you know, might not have knocked out. Iron Head was a clutch live here. Like, we see an activation, and Patrick might have thought that was Focus Sash, but then we see the activation of the Weakness Policy straight away, and then I get really annoyed here because I miss the Head Smash, which meant I would have, you know, taken that a turn earlier. I could have gone, you know, and set the pace even better. And now both my Pokemon are asleep in front of a Cinderace, which is going to hit these Pokemon very hard. And Tyrantrum being at 1 HP, like, it's going to drop to what I have to Pokemon throw it if Gothorita even had an attack. I'll have to see when its team preview goes up. Team preview movesets, right, goes up. But I don't remember having an attack, but Arcanine is kind of free, because, you know, you can play around it. And Patrick, we see, is also playing around if I switch into Rotom, because if he called that switching, that would have meant that Rotom would have gone down and I'd have brought a Tyrantrum in, like, dead. But, you know, Tyrantrum being at 1 HP, it kind of done its job, it done a bit of chip, and honestly, you know, I was disappointed that I missed, because it now put me in a situation where I had to, like, you know, preserve my switches, and I had to preserve my plays. But, you know, Patrick didn't know that. Patrick, you know, see, going for the moves he went for here, I assume anyway, he didn't really know that I was going for more of a slow and steady play style, because he knows I play very hyper offensively. So, you know, gets a knockout on Tyrantrum, which is good for the KD differences, of course, in draft leagues, but in this instance, it's kind of wishy. Like, yes, you got rid of Tyrantrum, you force in a Grass type. I don't know if I had technically revealed Choice Scarf yet. I don't know if Speed Ties have been set properly on this turn, but bringing in Rotom was super nice for me, because, you know, it should be fast enough to get a knockout on one of these Pokemon, preferably the Cinderace, of course, because it is faster. Arcanine can probably take a hit from Cinderace, but, you know, it's just that nice, you know, ability to know that I'm possibly getting a knockout on it, and having Arcanine safe to go for Crunch as and when it needs. And we see Patrick, you know, relying on that I'm yawning all the time today. Relying on that Hypnosis, just trying to, you know, get Pokemon to sleep and just slow down my team as quick as possible. But I thought he went for Hypnosis that time. Maybe it's because I saw him hovering over it. But the Helping Hand and then the Volt Switch in the Cinderace doesn't do much, but it does enough to give me a bit of security. And I think I double target in this turn. I think I do for the next couple turns, just because Cinderace being gone is fine. I've kind of established that, if anything, this Gothorita has Fake Out, or if anything, a really weak Psyshock or Psychic. And then I reveal Crunch on this turn, which, you know, given how low Gothorita's HP is, I don't know if it would have mattered whatever move I went for, but just not using any HP and targeting that Cinderace Crunch means I can then have that stability going into this last turn. Patrick obviously opted to go for Hypnosis and try to stall out the game, and I luckily the Crunch got its high roll, maybe thinking I was relying on rolls and stuff, or whatever. But taking that game one, we'll go and pause on that one. There we go. Taking that game one, give me a bit of comfort, you know, because I know Patrick's a great draft league player. I know Patrick was a bit fussed with the draft, but I know he can take a team from something to nothing. no, nothing to something. Sorry, I got my words mixed up there. But you know, he's great in player draft. He's great in Pokemon draft, and I had to really respect this. Like I was like, this is only game 1. You know, it's only a good sign of hope for now, and I'll just kind of find where we start next. Welcome to the same continuous stream of audio that we've had for the past couple seconds. But anyway, I decided to switch things up a bit, and I really like the mind game that this lead, at least I thought the mind game this lead had. I don't know if this did actually work on Patrick, but the mind game of Sizzle having such a strong bullet punch, with Technician bullet punch being stab, and of course super effective on my own Pokemon. It's that mind game of, will I be going for the side proc, or will I just be going for outright damage? Both the Pokemon here don't really like the moves I can throw at them. Bullet punch or Iron Head into that Torchic was going to be a nice bit of damage on it, maybe even a knockout, I don't know. Tyrantrum could have been a bit scared, and I totally was scared of the Marowak. Marowak went big, and you know, even when both of us are big, I think I counted it was a really big chunk of damage. And Tyrantrum, you know, if it went for a Whirlwind, would have been negated by a Follow Me. If it went for a Quake, it would have been negated by Follow Me. But you know, Rockfall would have been nice, but then what am I doing with a Rockfall? There's no special Pokemon on the field, and you know, the chip won't be going too far across the field either. Luckily, I did opt to bring Iron Head. I was pondering all the different moves I could have had for this moveset, and I thought Iron Head is good into Torchic. It gives me defense boost regardless of what I go into, and it could be good with things like Lapras, just in that activate weakness policy. I think it's, or maybe it will do actually, but it was just nice to have that defense boost. So I believe Tyrantrum, one of its defenses is super high compared to the other, and I had the ability to boost both of them, so I rode with that. And the turn here is very similar to that turn with the Rotom in the last game, and where you'll see why. You know, Patrick again is thinking a long time this time, because he's got to think, will there be an Arcanine coming in? Will I be switching? Who am I targeting into? Will Follow Me be worthy to get rid of maybe a ground move or a dragon move? You know, there's all these different things. Do I even have a ground type attack? Of course, being Rock Dragon, I was guaranteed to have at least one of them. And you know, oftentimes like people have actually started, you know, start dropping like the double stab on like Pokemon 2 typings just because of how powerful Dynamax is. And we see Patrick, you know, does go down to pretty much the very last second on this turn, opting to Fire Punch and Sizzle. But knowing that I could, 1, protect the Sizzle, you know, and get the Intimidate, and 2, get the Intimidate off alongside the Max Steel Spike, was really nice to know in front of a Marowak. Especially with the typings as well. Like, if I caught a Fire Punch on the switch in, that would have been amazing, because, you know, Arcanine's gonna love taking a Fire Punch. You know, it's a fire type. Sadly, it's not Flash Fire, but Intimidate was just too powerful. It is in any situation in Pokemon, to be honest. So yeah, so it was, you know, I opted to go for that. Opted to, you know, take the hit. Helping Hand, when I saw this, made me a bit scared, thinking Patrick had called it and was going for like a Earthquake on things, but I still felt quite comfortable. Steel Spike did a decent chunk. It did just about 80. I think it did over 80% actually, yeah, because 80%. There's 1 over 80%, whatever that is in maths, I don't know. Like 80%, 50%, sorry, yeah. So it did just over 50%, and that Fire Punch was measly. You can't burn an Arcanine because it's a fire type. And, you know, I felt great in this, because my opponent, Patrick, was forced to go for Follow Me, and we see how quickly he goes with Perishong. You know, maybe that was like an aggravation Perishong, and that was like an aha, I can trap these Pokemon Perishong. Maybe going for like the Follow Me to redirect attacks, and then get the switch into Gothitelle, or maybe he just knew I was going for a very slow mode. It sounded like a 50-50. It wasn't the slowest of slow modes, but it was still more of a slow mode. I was going for those stat boosts, knowing that the Pokemon in the back are going to be annoying for me, and I felt quite safe with this. And we see Flare Blitz because I think it just misses a knockout. It's just the power, like the power right here of Choice Band Arcanine. I was crossing my fingers for a burn there, but Perishong at that low HP is kind of measly. Like, yes, your Pokemon get knocked out, so, you know, Patrick's Perish Trap was reset straight away. But at the same time, like, knowing that the Pokemon was at such a level of fragility that I could have just, you know, tossed a piece of tissue at it when it gone down. meant that I felt quite safe, especially with having 4 Pokemon as well. I could just switch as and when I wanted. And quite frankly, at this point in the game, all due respect to Patrick, I thought I could afford it at this point. Yes, FEARSOME was really annoying, but I had the Pokemon to switch around with to get that 4-0. But I then started to realize later in the game, like, I'm saying more from my past tense, but like later in the game, I started to think, actually, Perish is something to really consider. And also these Pokemon aren't the best for just pivoting around, especially what I can see on the field. But I worked with it anyway. Lapras protecting here wasn't really, you know, the best decision, like best optimal situation. That's what I wanted for, because I am now scared that a weakness policy could go off. I went for a max Rockfall. Reason being, I wanted to get that special defense, the indirect special defense boost as well as the chip across the field, which was annoying for my Arcanine as well, because later in the battle I do actually have that to knock my Arcanine, which, yes, I'm a Pokemon down, but it's also a case of I didn't know how to file that on the team report, because I was like, do I put that as my opponent got the KO? Do I put that as I got the KO? Is that like a neutral KO? Luckily, it's a basis of Pokemon per Pokemon KO in this league, give or take, roughly. That's what it seemed like on a face level. So I think technically Tyrantrum got what this league calls an indirect KO, which was very funny because, you know, Tyrantrum I think is currently my kill leader, tied maybe with Gastrodon, and that's always fun. And saying tied with Gastrodon, people thinking, how is that a case? This video is going up for all the other ones. I am recording this after my week 2 battle has happened, just because of how time has happened, and then this is gonna be like, people who actually do watch this will see that it's gonna be a case. This is probably gonna go up like an hour or 2 before the week 2 battle, give or take what I can get with my upload speeds here. But again, we get a bit sidetracked. Patrick kind of went down to the wire with turns. I can't remember if it's Lapras or Marowak that switches out here. I think Marowak, I believe it was Lapras because I saw a ground type attack. Yeah. Lapras switching out, that was a bit annoying for me because Patrick still had his Dynamax, you know, conserved, and I had to try and, you know, figure out which one it was. But Head Smash, you know, +2 didn't really care. Like any of the Pokemon I was gonna be hitting in, besides being a bit Dynamax, Lapras wasn't gonna be bothered, and it just meant that I could, you know, control the field again. Flare Blitz going off before Marowak, you know, dropping the last Pokemon. You know, in the strongest sense, you know, in most senses, about 99% of the situation, maybe 90 if you're being generous. And that goes to the Arcanine again. But in like that area of like certainty that I was in, I was like, oh yeah, I can win this. It's like a 3v1, technically 2v1 on the field. It's like, what, you know, what's my opponent going to do? What is Patrick going to do here? Then I realized that's a Lapras. Of course, I already knew it was a Lapras, but I was like, this is a Lapras that hasn't revealed a weakness policy. Well, it doesn't have weakness policy. It still has its Dynamax, so it can set up its and there's a star again, sorry. It can set up its screens, which, you know, I had to really think, will my Pokemon knock out through screens? And Patrick, you can see here, was also trying to figure out what to do, opting for a Protect though, and I had to opt for going for that switch out, just fearing a freeze dry. I didn't think I could take a max freeze dry, so I opted to just switch out. And on these next couple turns, I get away with a very, very cheeky pop off, and we'll see what it is just here. But yeah, the trick revealing that, you know, I did kind of feel a bit bad going for that trick, because if I didn't knock out this Lapras in time, or Patrick could realize I was going for a trick, probably think I had a choice item on me, you know, could capitalize on that, and you know, we see here he doesn't go for this, but I was thinking as soon as I clicked that trick button again, I was like, Patrick can have a Choice Scarf Lapras. That's definitely going to outspeed my Tyrantrum. It's definitely going to outspeed my Rotom. And Sizzle was kind of okay the situation, but it was definitely going to outspeed the Sizzle. And that made me kind of hesitant for that a little bit, because I was like, oh, I have just tricked a Choice Scarf onto a Pokemon that, in very minute cases, loves having a Choice Scarf. Luckily, when you're Dynamaxed, it does not matter if you're holding a choice item, and I get its Rindo Berry, which would be great for Rotom. But we see here, Rotom is knocked out, sorry. But you know, just the fact that Sizzle wasn't touched, you know, it made me feel great, because I was thinking, oh, you know, this turn it's probably gonna get you know, if it gets hit by a really strong water type attack and goes to its sash, I can then bullet punch next turn, maybe even go for one of the other moves I had to get a nice bit of damage off. But at the same time, I was like, you know, I was thinking, but maybe if I don't get targeted, you know, I didn't, and you know, I'm just gonna cherish this turn for a little bit. So Patrick is in a fork in the road here. At least in my opinion, Patrick's in a fork in the road here. There is a win con for him, definitely. Like, every match has a win con. Team-Max Resonance is still super effective on Tyrantrum. That can likely get a knockout. But at the same time, Sizzle is now at +2 attack with a Sword Stance. So, you know, Tyrantrum's weakness policy is gone. So it's not really the biggest threat. And so he's kind of got to think, you know, does he go for the thing that he knows he can definitely knock out and put it in a situation where Lapras can probably chunk Sizzle and get KOs in the end? Or does he go for the thing that he thinks he can knock out, that he wants to get rid of because it's at +2, and Tyrantrum is just kind of dead meat once the Choice Scarf is reactivated after Dynamax? And that was something I was sat here thinking. I was like, oh, give it that Choice Band. But that Choice Spec, sorry, Choice Scarf, I got there in the end, there's 3 of them, and I don't got it wrong 3 times. But I've given Patrick's Lapras this Choice Scarf, and I didn't think in the long run what would happen. Yes, I got rid of the Rindo Berry, which made me a little bit happy, so I thought, hey, maybe I can go for a Leaf Storm afterwards. But now I'm in a situation where this is actually kicking me in the butt. So I have to kind of play around what it is. And we'll see once Patrick inputs the move, you know, how big I popped off here. Because I knew I was Focus Sash, so I was like, okay, Sizzle can take another. So I just go for another Sword Stance, you know. And I felt super comfortable going with that, because, you know, I was going to go to Sash. The Head Smash, you know, did a nice chunk of damage. That was very helpful in the grand scheme of things in the calculation. And going into the Sizzle made me so happy, because I called that I would go down to my Sash at the most, you know, in the highest damage roll. And, you know, I was calling that, you know, I could work around things. And as the video does start a bit here, we'll pause. Again, I'm in this situation where if Patrick pulls it right, he can win the game. Because I haven't, you know, Bullet Punch is going to do a lot, but, you know, will it do enough through the screens? And we see Patrick opts to go into Tyrantrum here, but I also make a very risky play in this turn, which we'll see once the communication goes through. There was a lot of these where, like, it didn't happen. Bullet Punch just misses the KO. And I go for Head Smash thinking, you know, oh, Bullet Punch should KO, I'll be fine. But I could have lost that if Head Smash didn't hit. It would have been close, but in retrospect, a Head Smash would have been like a very annoying downfall situation. But, you know, we live life on the wild side. It's Draft League. You know, I had the choice. I had the boosted up Sizzle. I could have gone for another Bullet Punch. So I was very ballsy, especially if I'd have missed, you know, if Patrick had doubled into the Sizzle, and, you know, probably cool, I was going for a Protect, just wanted to kind of get around things. But, you know, or maybe just, again, going for a Salty Comp rush into like the super effectiveness to want to get a battle over. And I know how much Patrick was, like, you know, looking into this league and was a bit iffy, as I said earlier in the video, with the draft he had, but I think he can take it from here. He is 0-2 as last time I checked, and he was in a bit of a, you know, but I think he can take it. I honestly think, like, the skills he has, the changes he can make to the team, like the, you know, Pokemon that we traded, I think he can take it. And, you know, I'm just gonna leave it on, like, that positive note for Patrick there, because it was a fun battle. I was actually, you know, proud I took a game off of such a resident, you know, veteran Draft League player. And, you know, but like I said, just sitting back and watching it, you know, I would love to try and see Patrick again in Top Cut. I was saying about my opponent last week how, like, they played so well. I just didn't do too much research, and I relied purely on face value, like power and comparisons. So Patrick's another player I really want to see make the playoffs again, possibly even face him in the playoffs, because, you know, we've both now got to think, like, have the mind games of, ooh, you know, I could knock out this, knock out that, but there could be changes and all that jazz. And so we'll see how it goes, and we'll see what the best path for action is. But I'll leave off on that. So, thanks for going on with my nearly 40-minute rant of a video of me facing against Patrick. And hopefully the future videos are a bit shorter than this. But until then, I'll just have a nod off and see where it all goes.